This is Johnny Bluestar. Welcome to Threshold, a global media event. Is the universe just a random dance of atoms, or is it a manifestation of a supremely intelligent architect? Can its purpose, or our purpose here on Earth, be adequately assessed? Can we commune with it, know its intentions, cooperate with its direction? Here, we define threshold as a gateway state of awareness, allowing mankind to cross into a place of real cognition. Threshold allows us to approach questions of higher reality through the door of experience, rather than mere belief. Welcome to Threshold, where we tear away the veil from commercial media, bringing our audience and participants into another realm of reality and enhanced communication. Welcome back to Threshold Radio. Today we are going to visit with two people I have consummate respect for, Zave Nathan and his wife, Blazak. I respect them because I believe that songwriters like dramatists and novelists are artists who tell stories with their music. And these stories or narratives can help create a cultural environment that is poignant and beautiful, despondent, and even dangerous, trivial, and entertaining, or something that can help us climb upwards on a path of truth and conscience. A songwriter, composer, musician like Zave can choose the stories or musical experiences he wants us to share. And of course, we do not want to paint the world of music or any other art form in some kind of monolithic and ideological color, because an artist's imagination to work can take all of these directions that I've mentioned. But fundamentally, I respect mostly those who subordinate their efforts in the main to providing a platform for reaching out to higher reality, for truth and conscience. And this is what today's show is about, how Zave and Blaze have reached out to understand what is happening in our planet and how their search and their appreciation for the global musical culture has penetrated their music. Despite my alignment with Zave and Blaze in many ways, they are independent thinkers, and we will probably disagree on certain points that we'll discuss on this program. Therefore, I ask the listener to be aware that just because I produce this program, I do not necessarily agree with points raised by my guests, nor do they necessarily agree with me. But I believe it is important that my guests get a decent chance to express their point of view, and we should all listen carefully. So, we are going to explore with them some of their main concerns for this program, which I'm calling Who's Minding the Planet? Good morning, Zave and Blaze.
Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Johnny.
Thank you. So good for you to be with us today. I think it's important that we discuss what happened to you two so that you became so fundamentally concerned about what is happening to America and to the earth, so that your work and your life is permeated with these concerns. It seems to me that, unfortunately, this kind of concern escapes the majority of the people in this country. I find that they are, quite frankly, asleep at the wheel of their own lives. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is, to understand what's really going on, you have to unplug from group mind, from mainstream media and, the propaganda machine that spews out this rhetoric that it's a big plasma of deceit and cover up. And most people start their day by turning on their television and, getting ready for work, getting the kids to school. And they go do their day and then they come home and turn it right back on. And it's on until they fall asleep. So how can they understand what's going on? For us, Zave was in what made us really start to delve into things was the real estate crash of 2008, because at that time, Zave was doing some real estate work and everything just fell apart.
Yeah, I was a real estate agent with Keller Williams in Los Angeles, and I just got to certain information with bankers and private equity firms and investors, and that was my realm. And some questions came, and I couldn't find the answer because it didn't make any sense. I don't want to get into the details, but you have laws that are approved or not approved, and why? And it's like why? And the properties and the new laws and the bail the banks in 2008. I'm like, are you crazy? What is happening here? There's something. It doesn't make sense at all. So we started looking at a different reality. And during an open house, I was given by a prospective buyer the information to watch a movie called Zeitgeist. I didn't know what it was. So during my open house, I told my wife, I said, well, this guy told me to take a look at this film Zeitgeist. So we went online and And that was the beginning of our awareness, because of all the questions that we had about how does this work, how the tax works, how the investment works, the bank works, the insurance, the real estate, how does this work? And we went like, what the?
And when we saw all fraud, it just opened up that door to the rabbit hole, I guess, and we went really deep to try to understand our world, every aspect of it. And I mean, we're still learning. So that was 8 years ago.
I just saw yesterday, I got the DVD of a movie that I really like called The Big Short. Did you see that?
Have not seen it.
You should see that, because that's about the awakening. This is about people who shorted the mortgage market because they found out that it was all fraudulent. And it is, I have to tell you, I was laughing so hard I was getting embarrassed. And this was, I think, the third time I saw it. It's actually based on fact, but it was so poignant about how these people were asleep. A lot of them were asleep who were in the business, but some of them at the top, they knew what was going on. And it was a terrible travesty that they would let it go on.
Seriously. Yeah, we realized after all our research that, there's a separation going on. There's people who decide they want to align with that group, with that energy that has the disconnect from spirit. They follow the greed and the me, and it's really blowing my mind that there are ads on Craigslist now that say, "You want to join the Illuminati? What's your career?" It's like now the young generation, especially because of, Beyonce and all those Illuminati movie stars and music stars with their little triangular hand signals and all.
It's mainly rap. Huh? There's nothing there's no alternative who do that. There's no country music. There's no jazz. There's no blues. It's mainly hip hop and rap artists who behave this way.
So some people feel like, well, I want to be part of that 1%. I'll join them.
Yeah.
And
it's a club.
They think they're doing, okay, that's going to make my life good. That really scares me.
One of the things that really bothers me is that a lot of these so-called Illuminati type of signals, signs, and direction is really an inversion of Masonic teachings and maybe spiritual teachings of a very high level. And so not only are people being bewitched in a sense by these symbols and ideas, but they're actually being trained to miss the point of maybe a truer path.
You said one of the most important words I ever heard, and very few people use it, inversion.
Yeah.
The world is inverted. Our consciousness is inverted.
That's the satanic way.
It's all.
It's truly incredible how deeply it has gone. I mean, because it's created some monstrous things.
So who's minding the planet? That was your question.
That's the programmist.
Yeah.
On that banner.
Yeah. So who's minding the planet? I think there are forces that are invisible to the naked eye and to most of us minding the planet, for sure. And controlling the planet and controlling what we learn, what we eat, what we learn, what we do, how we live, how long we're going to live, what medication we're supposed to be on to be controlled. I mean, it's all
control.
So I think there are two levels of existence on the planet. The ones who are controlling us. So they are in a situation of power, money. They own it. I mean, they basically own it. And we are in the second tier, and we don't see that we are being controlled by these entities. So the reality that we have to stay quiet and keep on thinking the way we have been thinking for a long time. And this reality of the second tier that we are in is artificial. And they keep us shut up, work, die, and keep on going and do what we tell you to do. And it's been going on for 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000. And as long as I can go back in my history books and the condition of humanity, it's always about slavery and control. Whether it's financial or medical or war or religion, it's always been like this. So who's minding the planet? The people we don't see. Because if we would see them, they would be able to do that. So it's all done.
Wouldn't you say, when you say we don't see them, we might see them physically, but we might not realize what control they're exercising, right?
And most of us don't even know who they are. I mean, there's a guy called Mark Dice, and he conducts interviews. And the interviews that he conducts with people of every walk of fame, it's amazing.
Walk of life.
They don't know who the vice president is. They don't know Obama's political party. I mean, it's incredible. They have no idea of anything. So should we talk to these people? No, because whatever we're going to talk to them about, they will look at us like, what are they talking about? So there's no point.
Yeah, if it's not in their iPhone, they don't get it. And it's these, a few seconds of a laugh or a text that says, we don't even text in sentences. It's LOL and,
LMAO.
TTYL, and our whole population has become addicted to their iPhones and their television sets, and that is their reality. And they are just fed all this disinformation that they take as reality, and it creates their beliefs, and then they hold on to those beliefs really tightly. And depending on what little group you happen to belong to, then you're against this group and that group. And they have done a really good job of the divide and conquer in our society. The social engineers are brilliant, and they know how to control our minds.
Very smart.
They know.
But you do admit that this recent resurgence of political interests by the followers of Sanders and Trump show that there is a little bit of awakening possible. And as someone who tried to do something through an organization called We Lead USA, and which has been withdrawn, at that time it didn't seem very possible, but I always believed it's possible. And I believe it's necessary to create a political interactive infrastructure that people can use in a positive way. I'm talking about social media to change things. And I'm, in the midst of trying to create it right now. And, but it is heartening to see that something is happening, in our world. I want to go back to another point. I think that one of the best things about America is that no matter what the reality is at the moment, you cannot escape from the American dream, a concept that at least in our imaginary world is a beacon of hope, much like the torch of the Lady of Liberty. I'd like you both to tell us what you think of that dream, the core of that dream, and how it holds up to the reality, which is what we've been talking about now. But let's talk about the dream itself. What is the American dream in its purest state?
For me, being a foreigner, I always liked the Statue of Liberty in Paris. I always thought it was gracious, it was powerful. And being raised in a pro-American family, I've always seen America as the flag of freedom, and where everything is possible, where you have enthusiasm, where you are not limited by small minds, where you're not controlled by politics or religion, where, everything is possible. America wins at the Olympics. America wins in rock and roll. America wins in technology. America wins with planes, with internet, with computers, with electric guitars, with sports, with everything. America is great. And I felt like I got to go to America. So I did. And there is, for sure, this element of success and freedom and love. And this is why I'm here. And this is why I became a citizen in 93. Mm-hmm. Why I'm married here and I have children here. This is my country. I had to learn the American culture, because it's what you see is not necessarily what you get. And there are codes of society that are different in France. The relationship between the government, the people, and the interactivity between people in our culture in France is different than your culture in America.
Okay.
And to adjust to that, but that's okay. The American dream was, I'm going to go to America with my guitar in one hand, my suitcase in the other hand, and I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to go to LA, I'm going to walk on Sunset, I'm going to pull out my guitar, I'm going to play at the Roxy, 1,000 people will come, I'm going to get a record deal, and I'm going to be on MTV, and it's going to be great. Now, of course, that was early 80s, and I became wiser. But the American dream is an illusion. I really believed in it. Most of us believe in it. But after 8 years of research, we, my wife and I, can see the strings of control. They let you believe that there is an American dream. And it's wonderful. But it cannot happen. Not as long as we're going to be controlled and we're going to have puppet masters.
We have to change the paradigm, the working paradigm in a massive way for that dream to become alive. It never really was totally alive. I mean, there was slavery back when it was first conceived, but the words were there. And I think in the hearts of some of our founding fathers like Jefferson and Washington, the future was there. And that's exactly what happened with the progressive movement. You started to get into much more widening of suffrage, and you got into unions, and you got into getting rid of child labor. You got into minimum wages and stuff like that. That was really progressive, considering what the past was like. But now it's been stopped. And that possibility has been halted for so many forces, including economic forces, that have destroyed the ability to move forward. And we're going to discuss a lot of those things. But before we do, I want to say that there's one of the really wonderful songs that you wrote that says all about where you came from. Like many of your songs, there's a slight sardonic element embedded subtly within it, a kind of sly sense of humor. I love this song. Let's play I Am French.
Yeah.
Yo, man, check it out.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, man, this dude looks weird,
Yeah, he's
man.
kinda
Is he
weird.
from Mars or France or what?
France.
Yeah, man. Where's this dude been shopping at?
You think he's cute? Sir, this is your communication from Paris.
Oh, merci beaucoup, merci. I just arrived from Paris today with no reason but chercher la femme. I got my clothes, my face, I feel so debonair. Hey, comment allez-vous, monsieur, madame? And here I am, just a stranger in the streets of LA, looking out for something to do. And I say, hey, how you doing? I gotta show you something, cause I wanna be your favorite pew. Because I'm French. Everything is possible to nous. Because I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. You know I'm French. Everything is possible to nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. Yeah.
Man, this dude is cool.
Like a child in a toy store, I think I want more, cause she talks about ménage à trois. Oh, she wants love, I'm ready to play the part. Go for it, c'est la vie, pourquoi pas? Oh, she wants to see my savoir-faire, un autre pose bien au contraire. I'm gonna have to sing her toujours l'amour. She said,
Too sweet, I wanna feel a little
en love à la française, merci, bonjour. Because I'm French. Everything is possible for nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. Because I'm French. Everything is possible for nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. Mademoiselle, so what's your name?
Baba.
Ooh, you've gotta be my soupe du jour. I wanna kiss ton petit four. Ouh là là! Because I'm French. Everything is possible to nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. Because I'm French. Everything is possible to nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. You know I'm French. Everything is possible to nous. You know I'm French. Ça doit marcher between me and you. Because I'm French. Oui, oui.
Okay, to what extent has the reality of personal and societal freedom changed in this country since you came here, Zave, and since you grew up here, Blaze?
Okay, I'm going first because being raised somewhere else, I can really see the difference. When you're raised here, you don't know anything else. So my background, you have to understand where I'm coming from. So my angle on life. My father was a doctor, medical doctor in Paris. My mother was a piano player, classical pianist. So I was raised in music since conception of my life. And my parents were fantastic people. I was raised with love, respect, encouragement, fun, teachings, some philosophy. I was released in life at age of 18 when I took my first apartment with my first girlfriend. And oh my God, I'm an adult and I'm flying off the nest and it's going to be great. And my life in Paris was fantastic until the age of 24, 25. And then I came to America and I did not understand. First, of course, the language. I had to learn it. Then the cultural reactions. People, how do they talk to each other? What do they mean when they say things? For instance, if I send you a song and it's not that great, you don't want to tell me it's not that great. You're going to say, oh, it's interesting. So as a French person, when somebody in French say, oh, it's interesting, it would mean I am interested. It's not quite there yet, but it's a good start. So it's encouragement. When you come to America and they say it's interesting, it means get the hell out of here.
So true.
So for a foreigner, you go, oh, it's interesting. Yeah. So what did he think? He's interested. Is he? Yeah, he said interested. Yeah, he said he's interested. So I worked for years on false information. Until I could understand what an American person says when they say what they say. So I had to immerse myself in the American culture, and that goes with dating. The American women, the way they react in America versus the French girls in Paris. It's absolutely opposite.
Really?
It's opposite.
How so?
Well, let's say I'm in Paris. It's Saturday night. I'm like, hey, it'd be great if I, could meet somebody tonight and, hey, cool, let's go hunting. So, you put yourself in the best profile and you hit the street. Restaurant, walking, metro, bars, clubs, whatever. Paris is a very adventurous city at the time. And going to a club, see this beautiful girl, she looks at me, I look at her, it's great. Hey, do you want to drink something? What's your name? Oh, my name is Chantal. Oh, cool. What's your name? My name is Zave. Oh, great. And say, well, you know what? It's pretty noisy here. I'm kind of hungry. Do you want to grab something outside? Yeah, sure, we can go there. They are there, We have 4:00 in the morning restaurants open and stuff. So you leave the place and so where were you born? What's your name? Basic stuff. Then you look at her and you say, you know what? I would like to take you to my house because, I don't know, I feel like, do you want to do that? And it's either, no, I can't, or yes, why not? Or why don't you come to my house? Right? It's that easy now. So you come in America and you try to pull the same type of deal with a French accent. The French accent helps. But you have to learn that, there are codes and girls react a certain way and guys are supposed to react the way after the girls react. There's a codification that is unbelievable. I never learned them. I had no idea. So now in the music business, I have been here in this business since early 80s and I've seen the progression of the music in Los Angeles. When I came here, it was the beginning of MTV, 1982, no commercials. And on rotation, you had Prince, Madonna, Billy Idol, Van Halen, Michael Jackson. That's what you had all the time. I spent my days and my nights soaking all this American music. This is how I became what I became. And I came in America because I didn't dig the French music that much. I needed the American energy, not the Brits. The American is different. And you look at Prince, you look at Billy Idol, who's British, but his guitarist is American. You look at Van Halen, and I mean, come on. These are the top of the top of the top entertainment, music, quality. There's nothing above that. Michael Jackson, Van Halen, Madonna, for what Madonna music represent, produced by Nile Rodgers. It was a different vibe. The production of Keith Forsey with the album of Billy Idol, Rebel Yell, fantastic. 1980, Michael Jackson, Off the Wall, fantastic. Thriller, fantastic. I mean, America was like, oh my God, I was in love with it. I had a wonderful time. And then I saw the degradation in that society with AIDS. AIDS crossed over from homosexuality to bisexuality and women in 1985. And it changed freedom. It changed the relationship between men and women. The trust was different. I remember early 80s, I never locked my front door in Hollywood Hills. And it was like, it was like you had some love going on and trust. And then little by little, it went away. And for me, it was 1985, the propagation of AIDS, and going back to Europe. I got married, my first marriage in 86. And then I waited for my green card. As I was stuck in France for 3.5 years. I came back in 89 and I was absent from early 86 to 89. So 86, 87, 88, 89. It's 4 years and America has changed while I was in Paris. Mm-hmm. The point that coming back, the energy was like no longer fun, sexy, positive. It became, because of the energy of Los Angeles died and was replaced by the influx of Seattle and the grunge. And we lost the luster and the glam of Los Angeles rock. And it was replaced by a proletarian, sad, dangerous, industrial, angry energy. Mm-hmm. You had Nirvana was really rebellious and in your face and angry. You had Rage Against the Machine. So that's the energy in the early 90s that took over America. And then the beginning of hip hop and the development of rap music at that time. And ever since, it's been going down. And so my American dream changed, and America was no longer in mid 90s what I used to know in early 80s. That's my observation.
And it's a good analogy to look at the music and how it changed over the decades, because that's a reflection of the control getting heavier and heavier and heavier. The 60s was about, love and, the Eagles and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and love the one you're with and Woodstock. And boy, they had to shut that down quick.
Well, it was also about anti-war. It was quite anti-establishment in a lot of ways, but it was more unrestrained than it was. Every day that I lived here during the 60s, I would listen to a radio and I would love almost every song. And now I just have to shut it down. It doesn't mean anything to me. I listen more to the songs of the people that I work with in songwriting or promote than I do to, I can't listen to the radio. And when I hear these songs, they are so trivialized and so childish. That's all I can say.
That's dumbing down.
And so talking about like Rage Against the Machine, now, their music was put into the Matrix movies. It was great music and it was angry music and it was talking truth.
Super powerful.
I think that was the last band that was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And being in the music business ourselves and talking to a lot of different people all the time as the music business has changed and diminished and become something else entirely, we always wanted to have our finger on the pulse and figure out what's going on now and what road should we take, and we were told, music has to make people feel good. You can't talk about, they don't want political songs. They don't want anyone to be angry. It has to be happy, don't worry, Uh-huh. And the Illuminati took over the music business. So the ones who make it big are the ones that, do the symbols and, shake their booty. And it's horrifying,
It's music used to be entertainment and education.
Yeah, and a way to express your heart, your thoughts about the reality we live in, talking about our world, and hey, let's unite, let's be happy, let's do this, let's be strong, let's and it's you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Well, about 5 years ago, I started to work with Edgar Ahrens who's a Russian composer, on various songs, and started to develop the idea of a Bridge of Light platform, which I wanted to separate my music and the music of people that I liked, that I believed had a spiritual and positive social message, from all the rest of it. And I'm continuing to do that, and I believe that your music is part of that platform to an extent, since we've been playing it regularly on our show, Threshold, and we're beginning to work together a little bit. But I believe it has to be separated because the creative juices, the spiritual power of real music doesn't exist in the public arena to any real extent at all. And I don't feel like taking a microscope to it to find it. Well, maybe, there's a little corner here or a little corner there. I'm just going to collect the people I'm working with who are actually real and who are not controlled in the sense that we're talking about. But I want to go on about this little point here about, I want to ask you something, Blaze. I've never really asked you much about how you grew up and where you come from. Do you mind giving us a little bit of your background?
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in New York, in Long Island.
Where? Where in Long Island?
I grew up in Bellport and East Patchogue.
Okay, I grew up in North Merrick.
Okay, well, I was born in Queens, but moved further out to the island when I was about 10, I guess. But, my family life was very unhappy. My mother was married to a raging alcoholic who was abusive. So I had a very sad childhood. 6 children. And then my mother died when I was 18. So not a good start to this world. So my family was broken up because we didn't really have a father and our mother was dead. And so we split up to live with different relatives till we made it to, adulthood. And life was hard. Though I have to say everyone in my family has, gotten an education, been very productive in their lives, have had good jobs, had families of their own, bought houses. I mean, we all certainly had every right to become drug addict prostitutes if that was choose. Yeah. From whence we came, it was really, really tough. So, but as they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it made us all very strong. And I moved from, I went to college in Florida because I hated winter and I loved palm trees. So I had some good times in Florida and came back to New York and started living in Manhattan and working and got married. And my life was taking off. I loved living in New York at the time. I was there from like 1972 to 1982. And I think that was probably the best time to be in New York City as far as I'm concerned. It really changed after I left for LA. So I worked in the toy industry. I worked in the financial sector after that. And then I moved to LA because I got a job in the film business working for a producer. And my best friend from New York had moved here 7 years earlier. So I had my best friend waiting for me and a great opportunity for a job and getting involved in something creative, which I was really excited about. So I was in LA from 83 until 4 years ago when we moved up here to the mountains. And I worked in entertainment. Then I moved into entertainment law. And I stayed in the legal profession as an administrative assistant to lawyers for many years, ending with working for lawyers who were in real estate. This is when Zave was in real estate. I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I go work for some real estate attorneys and learn everything I can learn? And then maybe I'll get my license and then we can just have our own business. And then came the crash of '08. And that was the end of that idea.
Yeah.
So I have a daughter and Zave has 4 kids. And so we've raised 5 kids together. They're all out of the house now. And so this is our time.
We are free.
This is the first time for the past year was the first year we have lived without children in the house. And of course they come and visit, but we're not responsible for.
Don't have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to get the stuff ready to take them to school.
Yes, I know. It was a little bit longer for me since they've left, but I remember at first it wasn't very easy, and then I realized, wow, well, I have more of a life in a certain way.
Yeah. So when I made this move, this was so to relate my background to how I see the American dream and how it's changed. Mm-hmm. I grew up with Pledge Allegiance to the flag, and I was in high school when the Vietnam War was going on, and some of my friends from school were being drafted into the Army, the ones that were a couple of years older than me. And, one of my friends, her brother was MIA, and we were very activated to raise our voices and speak our truth. And I feel that we really made a difference. I don't see that kind of positive energy in today's protests. I mean, there's a huge difference. It used to be, peaceful, full of love, unity. I mean, I don't really think that with the Vietnam War there were never protesters. There was nobody there telling us, hey, we need this war in Vietnam. It was a solidarity that I think we are sorely missing today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that time during the Vietnam War and before that during the Civil Rights Movement, it was amazingly a lot of solidarity. But now it's something like the occupation movement was just so weak and so diluted, and it had some legitimate concerns. We'll talk about that later. But I want to bring up a point here since we've been talking about personal freedom. And I think this is a really important point, and we'll see what you think. To me, the actual reality of personal freedom has not changed so much as the awareness that if certain things occur, certain laws are enforced that already exist, certain practices like warrantless surveillance, unlimited detention, deprivation of the help of an attorney under certain circumstances, the legal use of the military to intervene in domestic affairs, and the unlimited printing of money, things could rapidly descend into a fascist or security state. What I'm saying is that right now, we're talking, and we have our own businesses, and although there are enormous economic constraints on us, we still can speak and we can still interact. And what's really there, though, is like a shadow of something much worse happening. Do you feel like me that there's a kind of axe being held over your head?
Absolutely. It's
total control.
It's the shadow government. That's the shadow. And they have put into place a system of total control. I mean, we are so close to being in a totalitarian situation. That's why I say we're at the 11th hour right now. So yeah, all those things are very scary. The fact that Obama signed that NDAA is terrifying to me. And the people who, the Obama lovers go, oh, well,
they don't know what it is.
They're not going to enforce it. No, because I've told people what's in it because they don't even know what it is. And I've told them what it was, and they go, oh, well, that's just like for terrorists. And I said, yeah, but there's no proof. They don't need proof. They can pluck you out of your home, take you from your family, and disappear you forever. And this law gives them that right, whether you've done something against the government or not, just if they think maybe you did.
Now, not only this, let me, if I may, what the NDAA is, first of all. Number two, how it came to be. Number three, how it is enforced. Earlier in the discussion, you made an allusion to invisibility. And the way they do it, they hide it in plain view, which takes away the suspicion. So, for instance, to me, as an American converted human being from France, in France, they are still under the Napoleon Code. Here is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And but the sense of freedom between France and the U.S. is very, very close. The French came to help the Americans against the Brits.
And they sent the Statue of Liberty over too.
Yeah, and so Bartholdi sent, the Statue of Liberty as a symbolism of personal freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And just while we're on the subject of the Statue of Liberty, we recently found out that the Statue of Liberty is another one of their inversions. This holding of the torch is a symbol of the Illuminati that we gotcha. So it's inverted by, and the French people who sent it over with love and let's help each other and be friends. And we have a Statue of Liberty and we're giving you this one. And it's an Illuminati symbol that says, we gotcha. John F. Kennedy, murdered by the Illuminati, and he has an eternal flame at his grave. Marilyn Monroe, murdered by the Illuminati, an eternal flame at his grave. The eternal flame is their symbol to say, we killed them, we did it.
And we still control you.
And, we are in charge.
Well, I just did a song, which you'll hear very shortly about the Statue of Liberty. But I do think in the minds of people in general, it did not represent that sort of thing. And also, I don't want to say anything more about it. I want you to hear the song when we're finished with it. But it's interesting you brought it up. I sincerely hope that that's not what was really going on when they used the torch.
I was devastated
Because using for instance, in certain tribes, you keep a fire burning and you move the fire with you because it's a sacred fire. So I don't know where that idea of it.
It's sacred to them. It is sacred to them to kill these people.
I'm not talking about that part of it.
No, for us, the flame is to keep the moment alive. And for them, it's, oh yeah, it's still on, brothers. We'll still control your butt. Absolutely. And you may think it's for other reason, but it's...
Well, anyway, I'll have to do more research on that.
We love what we feel is the symbolism of it. Absolutely. It's how many people come to New York and see that statue and don't feel awe and love?
This is, you Americans, the Statue of Liberty is your Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And it's the symbolism of your American freedom was built by a French guy and sent by a French government. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But another thing that I wanted to mention here is that a lot of these so-called symbols that we associate with that negative power, which we're calling the Illuminati, are inversions where they've changed the meaning of something to its opposite.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like the triangle. These are various things. The eye of Horus, or in the pyramid. These have other meanings, and we shouldn't forget that. Because what part of the job was to turn these symbols into very bad things. And so it's very complex, this type of programming. But to change the tune a little, you've been working on a set of instrumentals with musical flavors from around the world. Tell us about the project a little bit.
So how did that happen? I was messing around with world patterns and world music colors, and to stretch a little bit outside, because I had an open door to produce music outside of the regular pop, rock, country music. So I started getting with a more acoustic, and I started getting into a vibe that sounded Irish. So I took the tambourine, the acoustic guitar, and I built one track. It was fun. It was great, and even my son liked it.
And, I know what you mean when you say something like that.
So I sent that to my publisher, and they said, "Wow, it's a great idea. We like that. We don't have anything like this in our library. Why don't you? That's a great idea." And I said, "Well, if you want, I can make an album and make 8 of them with 8 different countries." "Oh yes, that'd be great." So I start writing. And I go, well, I'm going to be the Jules Verne of the music here.
Better known as Jules Verne.
Oh, Jules Verne.
Okay, I got it now.
Jules Verne. Hey, Verne. Around the World in 80 Days, right?
So he called it Around the World in 12 tracks.
In 12 tracks.
Oh, yeah. Well, this stuff, I don't have all of the tracks, but we have portions of a number of them. What I'd like to do, I think the appropriate one to begin with is the one called Acropolis, because that's the birthplace of democracy, supposedly. So let's play that.
Okay.
One other important aspect of freedom is the ability to survive economically by doing things that are contributive to society and the things you are talented in and what you want to do. There are so many people in this country who are struggling either as entrepreneurs or in professional careers who have lost their ability to succeed because of conditions in this economy affecting various industries. One of these is the music business, something I know a little about, mostly from the standpoint of working intensely as a songwriter for a number of years, but not by far as entrenched in the industry as you and Blaze are. What has happened to the industry? Why can't performers, composers, songwriters, musicians have a shot at the same level of income as they had before? Why are people saying that the music industry is dead?
All right. So that's
a big sad story, but we can sum it up in one word.
technology.
Technology. Yeah, the digital age destroyed income. There's so much piracy, free downloads. You know, our children's generation, for instance, they never pay for music. They never have had to. It's a concept that completely escapes them. Whereas when we were their age, you know, I would save my babysitting money when I was in high school, and I couldn't wait for the next Beatle album to come out or the Rolling Stones, and I'd go down to the record store and I could touch the records and look at them. And I couldn't wait to bring it home and read all the inserts and play it 17 times in one day. And today it's just too easy for them. They just, they log into their computer or their iPhone. They go to the various sites where you can just download the music for nothing. So for the big name artists who have a career, who are established and have, labels behind them, go on tour. That still hurts them, but they make money through concerts, ticket sales, merchandising sales. It's really hard for someone who's just a songwriter to make money because they're kind of the silent partner, the invisible entity that created the great song, but it's the artist who gets famous for it and makes the money because they go on tour and they have these other ways of bringing in the money. But if you're not selling the song, if the song isn't being purchased, then the songwriter doesn't make any money. And they only get their writer's royalties, So this is why we stopped heading in that direction and instead decide to align with BMG, whose sole business is licensing for television, movies, commercials, etc. It's the only place where a songwriter who isn't also, in a performer with a solid established band that can go on tour and has a huge fan base. We can't create that in our lives at this point. There's no way. And even we read an interview with Sting about a year ago in which he was asked, if you were just starting out today in the music business, what would your chances of making it be? And he said, forget it. It would never happen.
Never.
We saw an interview with Quincy Jones recently, and he said the music business is over. The record business is over. It's done. So streaming is really good for the consumer. It's horrifyingly bad for the writers. You get Bon Jovi's song, Living on a Prayer, big classic rock hit. They still play it on Spotify. So for one quarter on Spotify, it was spun 6,000 times, 6 million times. 6 million spins. And the writer got a check for $100. That's
a lot. I mean, he can go ahead and take a couple of cabs and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to bring up a point about this. This is a point I sometimes bring up when it comes to fossil fuel or nuclear energy, is that we had the beginnings of the solar energy, of solar energy at the turn of the 20th century. But we followed other paths, possibly for economic reasons of certain groups of people. And part of the problem with the internet, and particularly with the music industry, which is one example, is the lack of security and the lack of law to enforce that security. In other words, when we contributed to technology, to me, I'm thinking to myself, well, this was a wrong use of technology because we probably had the technology to protect ourselves or could have developed it much, much better and solved this problem. And then we'd still have the music industry pretty much the same, easier to access maybe technologically for people using it, but not necessarily that different economically. I want to give one more example, and it's a terrible thing, which is there's a law that allows people who are third parties posting or publishers on the internet, third-party publishers on the internet, to be free of liability for people saying things against their reputation. In other words, you could go ahead and libel anybody and say horrible things about them, and the third-party publisher will not be liable. And this is one of the things that's grown up is the ripoff report, where people can say almost anything, and this ripoff report will not remove it. And it says they're in perpetuity unless there happens to be a lawsuit. And a defamation lawsuit is extremely expensive and difficult and depends on the state that you're in the United States. It's not a federal matter. So you have unlicensed ability in various types of things to say anything you want without any protection. Whereas if you are on a radio station or a newspaper in the country, you're not protected. You're liable for making terrible mistakes and publishing wrong things about people and businesses. And that's how I feel about this, that here we have an unlicensed ability to allow people to steal music and not protect it or sell it so cheaply it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, if I may interject, because this is another element of control. I'm asking you, what do you think is the number one source of entertainment for the planet?
Well, I guess I would probably say movies, film, music.
Music is an art that is an emotional, reactive system. My wife said the songs have to feel good. What musicians offer, what songwriters offer, and people on the stage, and when you play an instrument, and what we create are vibrations. And these vibrations go to your heart and make you feel bad, or make you feel good, or make you feel happy. They alter your mood. Music is the fastest, strongest mood-altering art there is on the planet. It hits you right away by the sound, by the level, by the frequency, by the colors. And as an arranger, I use a terminology called psychoacoustics. I need to use specific instruments with specific phrasing in specific relationship with other instruments to create colors that will touch your heart. That's my definition of it. And I use it every day, every day, every day, every day. When I was born, it was classical music at home, and I got touched by the vibration of piano and orchestral music. And to this point, to this day, if I listen to a symphony of Beethoven recorded by Deutsche Grammophon and the Berliner Orchestra directed by Herbert von Karajan, I can't handle it. It's just it's the top of the top for me because I was raised with it, and I align with this vibration that is touching me so deeply that it's in my soul. So music does this for everybody. Now, because it's the number one mood-altering art, if they control the music, they control who listens to the music and what is being transmitted, they will alter the mood of the planet. Can we agree with that?
I think that it is altering the mood of the planet.
That's exactly
and what's there's a word, I don't know if you've ever heard of Gurdjieff, but he's sort of a mystical, unusual person who came over here and visited America from Russia. And he was talking about sort of the what he thought was the general state of people and what they were interested in America. And his word was titillation. Titillation. In other words, this sort of superficial stimulation for entertainment purposes, for enjoyment only. And that's what we're getting. We're getting music that puts us to sleep.
Non-threatening, feel good, don't wake up.
But that's only the pop music. Okay, that's the insipid, the little 11-year-old girls listen to.
I see what go ahead.
The biggest impingement on our happiness through music is rap and hip hop. Because the frequencies that are used in that type of music, and I don't even really consider it music, but it's a low frequency. It brings you down. It takes your vibration down, makes you feel bad. It does. And it's all this anger from the Black communities that, they deserve to be angry, but, there's a better way.
Well, you're enshrining it. You're making it a good thing. And I would say that there are some examples of probably hip hop and rap music that are quite positive, but they're so small in contrast with the majority of music that's being developed that way that it's really had delivered a cultural blow to our country. It's reveled in, historically anyway, reveled in criminality and hate.
This is how it started. They understood that this technology, which is digital, MP3s, gives a chance for free stuff to be all over the place, which means the intellectual property owner of this piece will lose control of its creativity. And that's done on purpose. It's very easy for musicians to get paid from downloads and from streaming. We have computers, we have file numbers, we have file IDs, we have IP addresses, we have device numbers, which means that any track that could be transported over the internet has a title and a number. Every device has a device number, an IP address, and should have a license number to execute these files. It's very easy for a publisher to release a track with play only once. And if you want to play again, you have to buy it. And you cannot send it. So it's one shot. It's a demo. You get it for free as a demo. It's great. You want to play the second time, you pay for it. It's very easy to do that.
Yeah, and they very easily ignored it, right? I mean,
Why? And this is why. Because this is the interest of our controllers for all the music creators and all the intellectual property owners to die economically.
And that's true of other things too, like publishing, right? I mean,
Same thing.
So if you are a chosen artist by the elite, you'll get paid, you'll go on tour, you'll be on TV, you'll have money, you have castles, you will have parties, you'll be rich and famous. If you don't play the game, you can go and die. So they control what the masses listen to, what they align themselves with, and they glorify, they pay handsomely people who want to play game, they make them star, famous, and rich.
I want to bring up a point here about artists in general, and particularly now about people in the music industry. These are artists are driven by a need to create. They are willing to sacrifice a great deal to create. And no matter how you change the economics, some people are not going to necessarily make it the way that they dreamed of. But nonetheless, it's really taking advantage of people, of the soul of men and women to
total exploitation and slavery.
To put them in this position that they can only produce crap. And that's not what a real artist wants to do. So a real artist they'll put everything under a cover. It'll be just, they won't release their music. They won't be able to do, if they do, they'll get nothing. So of course, I believe as an optimist and also as a freedom fighter in different ways, I have to get around this. I have to figure out how to do this properly and protect the people that I'm working with anyway.
If the music industry leaders don't intervene, the Department of Justice is involved. The DOJ is involved.
They are working on this issue. It's extremely important. But
it's not moving fast.
I think it's like too little too late. And maybe they'll fix it down the road, but it feels to me like it's too late. I don't know. It would be great if they could turn things around, but the overall economic destruction of our country doesn't bode well for getting that resolved. And, if we don't get someone in the White House that is anti-establishment, we're going to just keep going down.
It's not just the White House that we have to be concerned with. If we don't have a really total political revolution, if we don't have that, we won't get anywhere because the president is really useless without cooperation of both houses. Hey, Zave and Blaze, thanks a lot for the first part of our show, Who's Minding the Planet? We shall return soon with our final hour.